I'm having a mince pie and I'm having some ginger tea,
Nice.
which is not normal tea because I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like normal tea? Is it because of the justice issue? Because
Yeah.
property is theft.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
There it is. Welcome, Laura. It is early, to be fair. Hey, welcome to Beer Christianity. My name's John T.
I'm Laura.
I'm Malky.
And this is our Christmas episode.
Ooh, Christmas.
Very quick roundup. What's your favorite Christmas song, Malky?
The one
Let's start it with Malky.
The one with the dum dums. That one. Absolute tune.
What the hell is that?
Wish I was at home for Christmas. That's the next bit.
Oh, wish I was at home for Christmas. That one.
Am I in an alternate universe? I have never heard this song in my life.
I bet you would know it.
Ah, okay. Laura, what's your favorite?
Anything with a descant.
Anything with an end. You're jonesing for a descant because you were sick when you were
I
Christmas
could not
piles.
sing in my Christmas choir, and I was so sad. Actual,
Good
genuine
little
sadness. I was very sad.
Shame.
What about you, John T?
Mine is the Mariah Carey Childish Gambino mashup. Every time, it's just good.
To be fair,
It's very good.
What's that?
Have you not heard it? It's incredible.
I must probably heard it a long time ago. What
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
It's that one about move white girls like this coke up my ass crack. Merry Christmas, by the way, listeners. Keeping it this. We'll put that in the show notes on our website because, guys, we have a website. I mean, are we excited about the website?
Woo!
I think Laura's whoop was so loud, Zoom cut it off.
It actually did.
So high pitched.
Only dogs can hear it. That's why I've been wanting to do a descant.
We have a website, a new website that was made for us. Primarily, I mean, let's be honest, we wanted to sell our merch because so many people at Greenbelt were like, "Hey, where can I get one of those shirts?" And we were like, "Yeah, we'll totally get on that."
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. So we're on that now because one of the principles of consumer capitalism is to be first to market. So I feel like we're really on that. We've jumped on that train really quickly, and I'm sure we haven't missed the moment in any way. But if you wanted to get a Beer Christianity shirt that says that you're pro BLM, pro LGBT, anti-capitalist, something else, I don't know, it's all the things that a person we're going to talk about later hates. That's all on the shirts, as is our logo, and they're all very cool. And you can find episodes of Via Christianity on there. We're slowly going to be uploading old episodes as we go, but the last few are already up there, and you'll be able to find them. And it's just a lot prettier than our Libsyn site. And what's the address, Marky?
Christianity.co.uk.
Yeah, Christianity.co.uk. It just feels,
It's got a nice ring
so
to it.
grown up. Am I right?
Like we
Rolls off
planned
the
it that
tongue.
way.
Anyway, this is our Christmas episode. It'll hopefully come out sometime around Christmas, and we want to talk about the war on Christmas. Malky, how would Stuart Lee put?
Well, these days, I heard that these days, that just for saying Merry Christmas, you get thrown straight in jail.
Well, when did this come in?
Yeah, that's what happens these days.
These days, you get thrown in jail just
for saying Merry Christmas. Get thrown in jail.
Yeah, are you saying these days? Jenny did this for hours.
This could go on for a while.
Yeah, that's the vibe. Is the war on Christmas narrative that you hear from. A friend of mine posted something on his Insta from J. John, and it says, "Merry closure, sir." This is a letter of his to the Times. Even just writing a letter to the Times about something you're angry with is, that just tells you a lot. "Sir, your report that Brighton University has suggested that its staff refer to Christmas as the winter closure period to avoid offending students and others who are not Christian." And the article is called "Merry Winter Closure, University Wishes All." Our calendars are full of memorials to unpleasant pagan gods and dubious emperors that I find offensive. Could we please see moves to eradicate such names as Wednesday, derived from Day of Woden, the English equivalent of the Norse god Odin, and July, named in honor of the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, as soon as possible? The Reverend Canon J. John. So I responded to my friend with something predictably annoyed, and he was just like, "Well, you really hate J. John?" I was like, "I kind of do. I don't hate him. I just hate some of the stuff that he says. And he just seems to be a really reliable guy for putting out like dumb Christian stuff that really doesn't help in terms of our witness." So I was wondering what we thought about this particular narrative, and particularly around Brighton University and the idea of people wishing, staff wishing people happy winter closure rather than Merry Christmas.
Well, it's not one of those things that didn't really happen. You know what I mean? Or it's spun a certain way, it's characterized a certain way. I often think about the whole having to wear goggles when you're playing Conkers thing.
Yeah. Health and safety gone mad.
Yeah. And because famously that wasn't a thing. The head teacher implemented that kind of brief rule as a like bit of a PR stunt's not the right term, but you know, in a reaction to he felt health and safety legislation has gone mad. So, these days I bet you have to do this. Oh, I'm going to make a rule where you do this.
Yeah,
and then that becomes the story in the Daily Mail. You can't even play Conkers anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you dig into what actually happened in is it Brighton?
Yeah.
Then it's a well-meaning, I think, group of students and staff that put out some sort of, feels like kind of diversity training, inclusiveness, you know, stuff that's like, let's try and be more aware of where everyone's coming from, and you know, try and be kinder to people, and aware of our unconscious bias.
Yeah,
and there's no compulsion to say or not say certain things. But it's spun that way. Oh, you can't say this anymore. Everyone must refrain from these things.
Yeah. And I think that's always the thing that's always kind of spun into these kind of narratives. Is the thing of like, it's always say, well, you can't say Merry Christmas anymore. And I feel like that can't have ever happened. That anyone's told someone to, well, you're actually not allowed. You've been banned from saying Merry Christmas. Like that. I just don't believe that that's happened.
I don't know. You may have more faith in people not being stupid than I do.
Maybe.
I'm sure it has happened, but it's not ubiquitous. Yeah.
And it's just like, and Christmas is so like wouldn't you rather people take, you know, to actually take notice and like want to kind of like actually putting thought into what they want to celebrate and experience this time of year. It's kind of similar to the thing about like how there's those census results that came out earlier. And the census results that came out earlier this year about how 50%, there's fewer than 50% of people in the UK now say that they're Christian. And it's like, is it just that those people are now kind of feeling able to be honest about their religion? Like, would you not rather people, rather than just kind of saying like Merry Christmas or like going along with Christmas because it's what you do, would you not rather people like genuinely be honest and truthful about what they're partaking in, rather than just kind of have a less than active faith and just say, oh yeah, like it's Christmas, like we'll just go along with it because it's Christmas, but not take it seriously? Like,
I never understand the American aversion to people saying happy holidays, and you got Christians going like, how dare you say happy holidays to me? And getting really offended. I'm like, but so wait, you want a non-Christian to pretend to be a Christian and to care about Christian stuff, but you're like part of the party that will say this is, you know, there's no pretending, it has to be a total commitment, otherwise you're not a real Christian. I just find that really
also there are other holidays that are so celebrated at this time of year. Like, yeah, we're not the only ones.
But that's the key, right? Is that we are not we're not in charge. And if we were in charge, would that be a good thing to do? If this was a Christian country and there was only a tiny minority of Muslims, Hindus, atheists, humanists, Buddhists, whatever, pagans, like, would we be saying they all have to say Christian stuff, or would we be trying to be a little bit more winsome by giving them, or not even trying to be winsome, to be fair, just saying, hey guys, do what you need to do, like, why are we so insecure as a faith that we're super stressed out about that stuff? I mean, Malky, where do you think that comes from?
I don't know, because it seems very confusing for me, like coming from having fundamentalist views in the past, because like there's always been a clear cultural Christmas and Christian Christmas in the church, the church. It's not in the church, build it's in your heart, whatever. but yeah, that clear distinction between the sort of Western cultural event of Christmas, Santa Claus, Christmas trees, mince pies, the snow, all that. And then,
which growing up in Africa, by the way, was awesome. I was just like, snow, essential part of Christmas. Yep.
Yeah. I hear they do that. And do you get, like, you still have Christmas cards with
all our Christmas cards had snow, robins, snowmen. Like, I could draw snow and I could draw snowmen. I knew how to make a snowman. I'd literally never seen snow until I was like 26, I want to say.
Did you shed a single tear when you heard the line, there won't be snow in Africa this Christmas time?
Yeah, no, we're all super cut up about that. Everyone in Africa is really, really bummed about that. I mean, to be fair, we are kind of bummed about that because it looks pretty. But also, I think the only reason we're bummed about it is because we've never had to live with snow, which is awful. Snow is awful. So
you see the road closures and someone crashes into your car,
slipping on your own pavement, like just all of that stuff. Like, yay, snow! So glad.
We love it.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. But yeah, anyway, sorry.
So it's just interesting because it seems like quite distinct, the kind of cultural event. But then from a separate perspective, I've got a mate who is kind of Hindu, nominally Hindu. I don't know if that's the thing. But
a Sunday Hindu.
Yes, Hindu, classic Sunday Hindu. His parents are from India, and grew up with in the Hindu faith. And I remember making a comment one time. We were talking about, it's interesting. Yeah, we were talking about our school experiences, and I found I related to him quite a lot in terms of being like a religious kid and feeling different in a certain way, a very, very tiny way, to how he experienced, a difference in doing something that was different, going to church, because that to me felt very different from most of my mates. But I made a comment like that of how, it was difficult being a Christian at school. And he was like, like the whole society is set up to like celebrate your shit,
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, wow. First of all, like that says a lot about his understanding of his faith, that it's, a lot of the importance is celebrating the festivals.
Yeah.
Whereas, that's just absolutely taken for granted. But then part of me kind of reacted to thinking like, but we're not, biblical Christmas isn't like, Christmas movies and, having friends round in Turkey and all that,
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, because there's a lot of assumptions in, I think, every kind of religious community. We all kind of feel a little bit persecuted because we all have this vibe that if we're persecuted, we're doing it right. That's always a message that was actually said in my church when I first got saved. It was like, if they're not coming against you, you're not doing anything worth coming against, or something, which is just horrendous, because you might actually be winning people over to your way of thinking. You might actually be making your faith attractive. And it's just like, nope, if the world likes you. And again, there's scriptural stuff that you can take out of context to support that. But like, just really weird. But the idea that I remember growing up in South Africa where all of my friends were Christians. Like my school did everything was Christian. Before I became a Christian, I knew more of the Bible than most of the Christians that I've met here, because it was just hammered into you for such a long time. And then the Christian church there, particularly the evangelical church, they would always be talking about the idea that we were being persecuted and we were a minority, and like secular society was ruining everything. And I remember thinking that. I remember having long arguments about that. And there's a truth to it, right? Like there is something different between Christianity and capitalism. And capitalism is our dominant ideology. Consumerism is our dominant ideology. There is a secular liberalism out there, but I think the fact that there is this space where we've got to be. No, we don't have to be, but we should be a little bit careful about what we say when it comes to things like Christmas. Or should we? See, as I say that, I'm like, I don't know. Do we even have to be? Nobody's expecting it of us. But there's something very Christian about going, hey, if you guys are saying happy holidays because you're not super comfortable with saying happy Christmas, maybe we should say happy holidays, because that's a nice thing to do. And, we want to be accommodating. There's something very Christian about that, about like, well, let's be everything to everybody, or let's not make people uncomfortable. Let's not enforce our will on people. I mean, I say Christian, I mean like a good example, a good expression of Christianity. But when you start resenting doing that, that's where you start getting this stuff about we're not allowed to do anything. Well, actually, no, you just started out by being polite. Now you're super angry about the fact that you were polite. Like, don't be polite then. Like, you don't have to be. I've never heard anybody get attacked for not saying they, like rather than he or she. Like, I never heard anybody get attacked for it. Like, I've encountered a lot of people who felt incredibly awkward and bad because they got it wrong, and then got annoyed about the fact that now I have to think about this thing. And like, okay, but don't turn that into anger, And in the Christian sense, I think it's the same.
I think it's what we were saying about like it getting blown out of proportion into like, because the example that you gave there about like one person saying like, oh, maybe like I don't feel massively comfortable saying Merry Christmas. Like the situation with the Brighton University thing it's not saying nobody's coming to a church and saying, well, you can't say Merry Christmas anymore. Like, it's not a thing of like, it's not like we can't say Merry Christmas to each other. It's like, no one's stopping us from doing that. But if a like group or a person maybe feels more comfortable with saying Happy Holidays, like there's nothing stopping you saying to that group or person Happy Holidays if it is making them more comfortable and it's polite and nicer to do that. But that doesn't mean you have to apply that rule to every other aspect of your life and faith, because like I think that like it's not as if anyone's saying like in a Christian like circumstance and situation you have to not say Christmas, because obviously no one's doing that, because that would be stupid.
But I think as a Christian, again, like non-Christians, I think are just completely nonplussed by this. Like, what is this? What are you even talking about? But as a Christian, for me, I go to the corner shop. It's Christmas Day. I'm, buying a snack or a bottle of wine or something like that. And the dude behind the counter is Muslim or Hindu or Sikh or something. And he's like, hey, how you doing? And I go, fuck, you don't celebrate Christmas, shit. Like, I don't want to be offensive. I don't want to offend somebody and go like, I want to wear a t-shirt that says, I don't assume that you're a Christian. I don't assume that Christianity is the default position. I myself am a Christian, but I don't want to impose that on anybody. I hope we can all just get along.
Like, add that to the Big Christianity merch store.
Absolutely.
Have some wording.
Or just, you want that on a t-shirt or on like cards, Like, I don't assume that you celebrate Christmas. However, I do, but also I don't want to impose it. But also it is kind of cool. And I would like to show that it is cool, but also I don't hate your religion, whatever it is that you're celebrating now. Also, I'm super embarrassed that I don't know if you are celebrating something right now,
Yeah. And I think that also plays into the like, more complex, nuance, and nice approach gets lost compared to a very sure of itself and certain clarity.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say this. Oh, that sticks. People are going to run with that. Oh, you can't say this anymore. This person's banned Christmas.
Yeah.
You can't have a Christmas tree. Oh, what? Versus, well, we're having conversations and we think maybe this year we're not going to do this, or we're going to, that doesn't play as well,
Yeah.
Also,
sorry,
just in terms of wishing people, like, again, my token Hindu friend that I'm going to keep bringing up.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I've actually got two guys. All right, so get off my case.
Get off my case.
Like, I wish them happy Diwali, because they're celebrating Diwali.
Yeah.
I don't fully know what that means.
Yeah,
but it's not even like, I hope they have a happy Diwali.
Yeah, go wild, have a really nice time. And my Facebook feed, because I have mostly removed all of the objectionable people from it, around Eid, it's just like Eid Mubarak freaking everywhere, and it's only the Christians saying it. It's always the Christians saying it, and I think that's nice. I think that's a good thing. That's like, yeah. It also brings up an article that we saw from December the 18th, which was in The Sun. The Express naturally republished it. And it is by Father Ed Tomlinson. And it says, the establishment has replaced Christmas tidings of joy with wokeism, warns Father Ed Tomlinson. And it opens up with, modern day secularists imagine Jesus is part of the story of Christmas, and an optional one at that. Christians believe Christmas is part of the story of Jesus, and a vital one at that. Again, he's saying it in a tone that says that people are going to disagree. Like, I don't think anybody would go, Jesus being part of Christmas, what a ridiculous thing to say. There's no one out there doing that. What is the Twitter account you follow, Laura, that I love? Because
it didn't happen of the year awards.
Didn't happen of the year awards. I feel like that's the war on Christmas. There's a lot of that about. And I just find this article really interesting because there's a whole bunch of stuff in it that is abjectly ridiculous. And then there's stuff that's just confusing because he puts in stuff that's like, some of that's true, but some of it's not. Laura, what's the paragraph that you liked from this? Because it's just so confusing.
The moral authority which the church once held is now invested in vacuous slogans of giant corporations. Footballers take the knee, and Greta warns of the perils of polluting with plastic. A disembodied supermarket voice tells us to be nicer to other people. Which I love that. I love that line. I think that's an excellent line. But the rest of it is like, well,
but also, but
also, yes.
Because there's a beginning part that is like what the capitalist, this consumerism, the whatever. I'm like, yeah, man, right on. But then why are taking the knee and Greta?
Yeah, why does Greta need to be involved in this? Just to have the.
Yeah. And I want to give this dude some let's cut him some slack and let's say, okay, is there a sense in which secular society has had to replace the moral authority of religion with other things? I think yes. We are in a postmodern society that whose institutions refuse to acknowledge that it's a postmodern society, so they're operating on modernist assumptions, which were just a replacement of pre-modern religious assumptions. They were just going like, hey, it's the Enlightenment, is what the Enlightenment did. We don't have any of the authority of scripture that justifies the way we've organized society, but we definitely want to keep society organized in this way. Hierarchical, oppressive to the poor, elitist, all of these kinds of things. We used to justify that by saying this is how God wills it. Instead, we're going to put in other justifications for it. And also, to be fair, the good stuff, not just the bad stuff. There was also a lot of charity, which was harder to justify when you got rid of, the Jesus commands to, love your neighbor and to give, if they ask for your cloak, you give them your shoes. That's not it. When they ask for your hat, you give them your pants. No, something. Anyway.
When they ask for a rock, you give them
a Scorpion t-shirt, a t-shirt of the German metal band, the Scorpions. And that's, yeah. But like all of that kind of stuff had to be replaced by other things that we love. I love human rights discourse, but it's based on a concept of the dignity of humanity, which I find very hard to kind of, when you dig down into it, what are we basing that on? It's a collective agreement and I love it, but it does come from it comes from those religious roots, but we've removed those roots. That doesn't mean that it's not legitimate. There's also plenty of philosophical justifications for it now. But in the majority mind, it's just, oh, well, yeah, we've replaced one authority with another. I get it. Singling them out as bad? There's a line where he says something about, let them sacrifice travel and comfort that the great Gaia might be loved. And being a religion, it has its creeds to promote, creeds radically different from the ones that came before arriving on a midnight clear. I just don't think. And then he finishes up with, little wonder they don't want us celebrating Christmas. That is the competition for our hearts and souls. And I'm like, nobody doesn't want you celebrating Christmas. Literally nobody is like, don't celebrate Christmas. I have so many friends who don't celebrate Christmas because they're just like, it's just not my thing. I hate Christmas. I grew up in a religious household, or I'm just an atheist. I'm not into it. I similarly have loads of atheist friends who are like, I love Christmas. Christmas is great. So festive, so lovely. Nobody doesn't want you to do it. The real meaning of Christmas, the reason for the season, is that competition for our hearts and souls compared to a capitalist consumerist world. I mean, I think so. I think those things are quite distinct from each other. I don't fully understand why we think that this is us being attacked. We're not being attacked. We're in Babylon. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, Laura, what do you think? You look dubious. Oh, wait, Malky, go.
Well, I was just going to say, in terms of like him being aghast that Jesus is an optional extra to secularists.
Yeah.
Of course.
Just to anyone who doesn't follow him. Like, yeah. That's
because, this is going to, as well as having a couple of Hindu friends, I've got a couple of friends who are atheists. Guys.
Some of my best friends are atheists.
Yeah. And they, don't believe in Jesus, but they will take a couple of weeks off at Christmas and exchange gifts, have a tree, and do all that shit. But probably don't have a nativity model. Wait a minute, we don't have a little nativity thing.
Heathen. You see, this is where liberalism gets you. You read one Brian McLaren book.
The future liberals want.
I don't even have a cool like modernist Bauhaus nativity set. That feels like a thing I should have.
Yeah, or those ones from Palestine where they've put up the wall of separation that does actually surround Bethlehem, which I'm just like, yeah man,
that prevents the wise men from getting in.
Yeah, love it.
Nice.
I do find the line about let them sacrifice travel and comfort that the great Gaia might be loved, because I know not everybody agrees with me on this, but I do believe that there is a cultural stream within progressive and leftist and countercultural thinking that doesn't want us to be happy. And I think it's the reason why there's that famous quote, and I can't remember her name, the woman who said it, who said, I don't want to be part of a revolution without dancing. I think that a lot of it's interesting that he talks about this one, religious kind of mindset has been replaced by another, or is in competition with another, because I think a lot of the do-gooder mindset, be it in large charities where I know a lot of people, or in the kind of progressive left, or in the hard left, there's a lot of, well, if it's easy and if it's nice and if people are enjoying it, then we are automatically a little bit suspicious of it. It moves beyond, we want people to stop driving cars because of their damage to the environment and the fact that cities are orientated around them, and moves into a place where it's like, if they were all completely electric and there were equal roads for pedestrians and for cyclists, we would still not want people to drive them, because we just think there's something wrong with it because it's too easy. It's like the churches who don't want people dancing. It's like it's like leftists and progressives who are like, this is no laughing matter, and their main concern is about what you laugh at. And again, as I was saying to you guys earlier, like I feel like that's not the biggest problem in the world, because the bigger problem is that Dave Chappelle is filling stadiums and bringing out Elon Musk and saying this is the richest man in the world, and then insulting his fans because they're too poor to afford good seats, attacking trans people, punching down, all that kind of stuff. That's all out there. There are very legitimate things to be angry about, but I just think if we if we as the people who are offering a different alternative, be that as, or a better world, be that as leftists or as Christians, if it looks joyless, if it looks like its primary thing is telling you what you can't do and what's bad, and if the main thing is you should work harder, be less comfortable, that's not a selling point, and I think people will not be attracted to it. I know all the things of, there is a level of comfort that we enjoy in the West that the rest of the world isn't enjoying it. But the idea of like you turning off your heating does not make somebody without heating have heating. Do you know what I mean? Like you having to walk everywhere in the snow does not fix things. It's not. And there is
aversion to not turning on the heating on. It's just an aversion to an aspect of British culture that you will not ever understand.
It's British geography.
We don't turn our heating on. It's just the way that it is.
It's so ridiculous. And this is the first year where I feel like I can't legitimately shout at people about this because now it's super expensive.
Yeah.
But it's like people who could afford the heating on all the time will be like, well, no, you can't because it's only, and then they'll tell you a month. As if that has anything to do with, yeah, but it's cold. Yeah, but it's only, October, so we can't put on. What? What's wrong with you? It's
you foreigners coming over here from your hot countries.
Yeah, replicating our own environments.
The Scottish guy just staying quiet.
Yeah, Drabs walked into my house. Peace be upon him. I will remember you. He came to my house the other day, and he was in like full winter ski gear because it was freezing outside. Came in and literally had to strip down to his vest. It was very hot, but what a
shame.
It was very hot. Yeah, no, it was awful.
It's such a shame for you.
Sort of thing. What were we talking about? Sorry,
I had a point. That was relevant about 10 minutes ago. I think it does come back to the whole founding. What do I want to say? Orthodoxy, creed, because what are you basing your stuff on? Because I think so much of what I hear from Jesus is it's ultimately about our own internal journey. It's about not judging others. It's about what I'm doing, where my heart is. And again, it's heart. It's not actions. It's not judging people by their actions. It's us looking at our own heart and helping other people.
It's not
that transformation.
Though.
What's that?
It's not actions. Like Matthew 25 is pretty fucking action orientated.
Yeah. Wait a minute. That's sideways. We'll come back to that. But the point is, that there's ultimately like a soft, I don't know, I describe it as a softness that I can come back to as like, okay, that's the point. That's what we're trying to do. We're not mainly picking on people for not recycling. Like, what are we trying to do? Okay, we're trying to make the place we're trying to make the world a better place. We're trying to, which again, it just gets mixed up with this guy's article of like, oh, you're just trying to save the planet. Like, what? Yes,
like these things are
drown.
Because it's not a loving Christian thing to do to let people drown.
Yeah. But you see it in all walks of life, I guess, in churches and political parties and school PTA meetings. I guess I've never gone. I'm so glad. But yeah, that you'll get into factions and something that you want to do because it's your cause becomes the ultimate goal, and fuck everyone else or fuck those guys because they don't support the cause or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, that's a way that my faith, or I understand my faith, that I come back to like, okay, what's the point? There's a bigger thing. There's a deeper, transcendent, holy thing that God is the type of God. Here it comes, guys. God's the type of God that comes to earth as a baby in squalor, and lives among us and humbles himself.
Yeah.
So that, should tell us something. I don't know what, but it should tell us something.
Yeah. And I think going back to your thing about John T, about, I get your point about the having to sacrifice joy and comfort and things like that. And I agree that the kind of, so let's just focus on just for example's sake, like the environmental movement and things like that. Like there is absolutely a problem with the tearing down of individuals or judging of individuals for not doing things or doing things, and like we should be focused. Ultimately, yes, I agree that like there's nothing that we can do without the higher ups in power, whatever, or the 1% just changing their ways. Because ultimately, but however, there is also something to be said about sacrificial love in action for other people, and also finding joy in the kind of local and the small in a way. So when you're talking about just finding joy in other places, really. So like when you're talking about like the discussion we were having yesterday about like not driving and things like that, like I do get your point in terms of like there are some people who need to drive and there are some people who it has to happen, or just because you want to drive, that's fine. I don't feel the need to drive particularly. I'm very grateful that I have very nice friends like John G who will give me lifts to places and drive me around when I need him, which is very, very kind. But like there's people that we know who have set up their lives so that they don't need to have a car, they don't need to drive, and they can work their way around that. And like that is something that is an individual thing, that is something that they can. It gives you a sense of power in terms of like, because in that kind of movement area, if you're just basing your kind of activism or like your thought process on like, well, there's nothing I can do because it's all the 1%, then nothing's going to get done.
Yeah. And
there's a power in that. And in terms of like the finding joy in other places and smaller places, like you don't. Yes, I think I'm on the agreement of travel or whatever, of like finding joy elsewhere, and I'm losing my train of thought. It's going all over the place, but you can find joy and things that bring you joy and nice things in your small locality. You don't have to travel like long distances by plane to find somewhere nice that will give you joy. Like you don't need to do that. Like that might be something that brings you joy, and that's great. I don't personally feel that I would love to see some things and travel, sure, but I'm going to find the same amount of enjoyment probably traveling somewhere in the UK and finding something nice there. But like, I don't know.
I think for me, I totally agree, and I also think that that there's a beyond just making a difference and finding joy as your two alternatives to doing something. Sometimes you do things because they're right. So us recycling is not going to save the planet. It definitely won't. It can't. It won't fix anything. But we do it because it's right. You're also not. I think there's a slightly different thing when you're talking about dealing with people, because you can easily apply that and say, well, we can't fix homelessness with charity, so we shouldn't bother. Like, well, no, you can't. You definitely can't. It has to be a policy decision. It has to be a larger economic system change. But right now, that dude could do with a $5. So you give him the $5 if he asks. And Jesus is very clear on this. If somebody asks you for something, you give it to them. I think sometimes things are right to do, whether or not they fix anything. And I think a lot of this small is beautiful localism is good. I also think it's a witness, and it's a kind of prophetic witness, almost like a sacrament, or it has a sacramental ritual kind of. We are witnessing a symbolic. Yeah, we're witnessing to the world in a symbolic way and saying, look, you don't have to have a life that is based on endless growth and acquisition. And I totally understand that. And I also think from the kind of, using the car example, I do like driving. I think driving is fun. I think driving is great. I would like it to be less damaging to the planet. But I know a lot of people who, even if it was less damaging to the planet, would say, but why do you need to do that? Same with traveling around the world. I love traveling around the world because I think it's a big and beautiful and incredible world, and I want to see all these different things. And you've got, again, particularly on the left, there's a strong stream of thought at the moment going, you shouldn't do that. It is inherently oppressive, and kind of missing the point that it is the system that allows the inequality that is oppressive. There are good ways to do these things. I just think if you're into, I would say, I want cycle lanes. I want cities to be built around pedestrian dignity. I don't want everybody to have to live their life the way I do in order to be happy. Coming back to what Malky said about Jesus's approach, I think when we start attacking other people, we find ourselves out of step with Jesus. And that's not the same as attacking systems. That's not the same as attacking the rulers and principalities of this dark world, who are not flesh and blood. They are not people. They are structures. And again, like super clear in the Bible of what that is. But when Jesus is approached by anyone who says, hey, will you tell that person off and tell them that they're a dickhead? He goes, no, I think you're the dickhead. I think that's a pretty much direct quote from Matthew.
He says bro in the end.
Bro. Bro. He just says bro. No. Bro. Come on.
You're the dickhead, bro.
Bro. Yeah. But that's the thing is, every time somebody says, tell somebody else they're a sinner, he says, no, you're the sinner. And it's not like he doesn't care about sin, because he does in other places. You know, he literally whips people. You know, he gets that angry. Like he does care about these things. But I think if your orientation is, and there was a great thing that I saw the other day that was talking about how if your ideology or your theology gets in the way of you valuing a human being, then you may value your theology more than your neighbor, and that is sin. And that doesn't mean that you can't say billionaires should not exist. It doesn't mean that you can't be critical of warmongers or sadists or racists or any of that kind of stuff. But like, that is in the name of protecting other people, you know, and you're not denigrating them as a human being. You're saying that what you're doing, what you're thinking is wrong. And again, like where we've mentioned this before on the podcast, of disagreeing with the Richard Rohr thing of you can't love the sinner and hate the sin. I think you can. I think it's essential, because you as a Christian, you can't kill the racist, you know, but you can absolutely denounce and loathe their ideology, I think. Merry
yes,
Christmas.
you should denounce their ideology. Just
Correct.
to be clear.
Laura's on the fence.
Hey.
Also, Laura, I like the fact that you say thank you for your car, because I have been judged by some people of like, yes, I hate car owners, you know, and driving is terrible. Those motherfuckers accept lifts like this so quickly all the time. The amount of petrol, the amount of CO2 I have put into the world, dropping people who disapprove of my car off at their homes because they didn't feel like walking in the rain. It's a lot, man.
And that's like the thing of like, it's sacrificial love. It's the thing of like, I'm going to sacrifice something in my life that I mean, I'm not doing, that's not why I don't drive. I don't drive because I'm lazy. Let's get this clear right now. But like, and also it's expensive, but like, it's the idea of sacrificing something in your own life so that somebody else can have a just slightly easier life. Like, you know, I'm not putting as much carbon out into the world so that you can
so that I can drive around.
So you can drive around. But like, yeah, it's, you know, it's the not ordering things from Amazon because, and which I know that having Amazon Prime and ordering things to get there in a day would make my life easier and it would make my life more comfortable, but I'm gonna not do that because I don't agree with that kind of process, and I'd rather give my business to someone who's working harder and is going to do it a bit slower, but I'd rather give them a slightly better way of life than, you know.
And this is the thing, you never make that my problem.
And I'm not going to make that
I've never heard
problem,
you
like,
shitting on somebody for doing that. And like, for me, I have not drunk or consumed a Coca-Cola product in, I think, probably 15 years because they support death squads and they steal people's water. So I'm like, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. But I had a friend who used to go into people's house and write, "You're killing poor people" on the bottle of Coke in the fridge. It's not helping.
Yeah. And you know what does work this way, because, you know, I had a message from my dad when we were doing Christmas shopping and he was like, hey, like, I was just looking at your Amazon wish list because I do still have an Amazon account. I'm not a Neanderthal.
I'm an animal.
I just don't buy stuff of it. But he was like, you know, I was just looking at your Amazon wish list. So was there any books that you wanted? I know not to buy from Amazon, but where, like, what books do you want? And it's like, that's the way to get the message across, guys. It's not to, like, I don't like, tell my parents. I don't every time I see an Amazon box in my parents' house, like, well, Graham, what are you doing?
But there's a disputable matters thing here, right? Like, that's a disputable matter. If your dad was using the N-word regularly and throwing around homophobic slurs,
tell my dad
you're going to be like, don't do it.
He's not, by the way.
You know, if he was doing that again, we know you weren't doing that ever. He's such a lovely man.
Yes, Graham.
but yeah, like I think it's just finding that line and the principles of what it is that makes it okay to call people out on that stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if I know the answer to that.
I don't know, but I was thinking about Jonty's lefty friends. I don't have those friends. Like, I don't.
We're the only ones.
Yeah, no, I don't hear those voices in my head. Those that will, criticize cars and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like
it's huge.
So it just makes me think we occupy different spaces, and inevitably a lot of that is online. And I think rightly, when a person is trying to, I don't know, improve themselves, then we fight against power. And I think, I don't want to say everyone, I think most people feel like they're fighting against power. So even that, the battle against wokeism, I guess, is folks, like, they feel like, well, that's the power, that the main culture out there is woke and aggressively, I don't know, I'm struggling to even characterize it as negative, but aggressively anti-racist. How dare they, or whatever. Like, so they see it as like, actually, I'm standing up and fighting against, the climate change narrative or whatever. Like, in their space, they feel like they're fighting against that powerful narrative,
Yeah. And that just brings it back to recognizing your privilege. As a Christian in Britain, if you think that you've been marginalized, recognize that there are bishops in parliament, there are schools that are Christian have incredible privileges. We celebrate Christmas. It's such a Christian that you have to register your marriage in a C of E church. This isn't even just Christian privilege. This is one specific denomination before you get married. It's these sorts of things that my humanist friends do get annoyed about. And I actually have a thing that I asked a humanist friend. He's an atheist. He's a humanist. He's part of the humanist society. It's a passion thing for him. He really believes. Or doesn't believe. I don't know what anyway, point is, it's a real vibe for him. And I asked him about Christmas and about whether he gets offended if we say Merry Christmas, because there are things about Christian privilege that have annoyed him in the past, and that I know have annoyed him in the past. And so I asked him about this, and I'm going to play you the clip now.
Hi there, Jonty. This is Andre, trying to send you a voice note. So, my views on sort of Christmas as an atheist humanist, I think, as we sort of chatted over text, I really don't care. I mean, Merry Christmas versus Happy Christmas versus sort of Christmas. Anybody who celebrates it, they're very welcome to. The thing that I always find really hard this time of year is just the commercialization around sort of Christmas, and also now that I have young children, how it's an absolute default for them, and hard for me as a parent, because I don't want to spoil things for them, but I don't want the over commercialization and like the focus on presents, but I also can't easily refocus on the religion because I don't have the religion. So we try to make it about family and friends and being grateful, not about presents. But do I care if it is Merry Christmas versus Happy Christmas? I could not care less. And I think that's the case for the majority of non-believers. And if they do, I've never known anybody who cares about that. I think that's always really false. So I'd just happily say Merry Christmas, and please leave my kids out of it. But I can't say that. So that's the thing at Christmas that I really struggle with. And I think that is, if I speak to others who have similar views to me, that's what they have. I hope that helps, and cheers. Bye.
I clarified with him afterwards, and I said, so to be clear, you don't need season's greetings or happy holidays rather than Merry Christmas. He was like, Merry Christmas is fine. And he says, I just asked 3 other atheists I'm with. None of them care. So
I think that's a really interesting thing in terms of like the consumerism aspect of it, though, because like if you have kids and you're not a Christian, all they're going to absorb really is this is a time for buying things and getting things. And that must be a really, I'd never really thought of it like that. That must be a really difficult thing to kind of grapple with, because like how do you, because at least as Christians, we have the kind of alternative narrative to the secular Christmas to give to people as a, like, this is why we celebrate, this is what we're doing. It's not about this, it's about this. But like, as if someone doesn't, if you're not a Christian, to kind of be like, well, like, we do this because these people do this, but we don't think that. But I do like they're reframing it as a time of just family and friends getting together, though, because I think as a non-American who celebrates Thanksgiving quite a lot, and has done for, actually, I love that. That's great as an excuse to like get together with family and friends is lovely. But
the commercialization angle is interesting too, because I think since I've been alive, then Christmas has always felt, I've not seen a progression in the commercialization, I think, but I have in some things. And I guess as a parent, when you're buying your kids shit, like Halloween, something that you see shops, they have more shit in, and the expectation to get more shit is there. They're pushing that. So like, it just makes me think that what some Christians see as persecution and Satan is actually just the forces of capitalism.
Which is Satan.
Yeah, which at its heart,
So they're not wrong, but they're right in the wrong way.
Mammon worship and greed.
Yeah.
But it's just that simple, like, oh well, actually, if big supermarkets put out more stuff that, like, at this time of year, we all have not just pumpkins, but we decorate everything and we buy more stuff, and you need to have an autumn wreath. You don't need to have, but there's just more people doing it. There's an expectation.
You don't need to. It's just a guidance, Malky. No one's forcing anybody to do it. See, that's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
I find the nativity thing really interesting, because I have had an atheist friend say to me that they find that annoying because the kids are expected to participate in nativities, and it is a stealth way that Christianity gets introduced to them. They're like, my children believe in God, and they find this annoying that their children believe in God. They're trying not to force their own beliefs on them, or they kind of say, so, hey, believe in God if you want. But it's things like nativities and using the Bible as literature and all this kind of stuff that they find kind of annoying as a kind of stealth way to get your kids into something that you really wish they wouldn't. Because, like, for some people, again, we're not being persecuted, and it's not like these people hate us, but some people do dislike religion. They do dislike Christianity. They do think that religion is a negative force in the world. And I guess for Christians who want to be decent people and interact with people in a respectful way, how far do we take that? We're like, yeah, well, they might, so I guess we should just never express our views. And how much do we believe that there's an inherent value in what we believe? This is deep to ask at we started recording at like 10 or something, so it's early in the morning.
It's the Christmas holidays. Yeah. I mean, it's the winter closure period.
We couldn't find a nighttime, so we're also not drinking, which is probably why we're not sounding drinky. Oh, wait, what are you guys drinking? I had coffee. I was hoping to have fancy coffee, but I instead had a bath. That's the time it takes to make fancy coffee.
It was a weird choice of drink, but all right.
You don't know. Don't judge me.
I also had coffee, and I had it in my little ghosty mug what I made.
Oh, it's so cute.
It's got a little ghosty on the bottom of the mug too.
So cute.
We'll do a screen grab. Painted mug for the listeners.
Yeah. We'll do a screen grab and we'll put it on something.
Yeah.
You can see.
Melks, what you drinking?
I had a cup of ginger tea.
Oh yeah, that's
true. You spat
all
over the desk.
Because I already had it. I was up with the kids, so I've had a coffee. So I didn't want to go like 2 coffees too soon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, I think we should probably finish off now. But we're going to finish off with what Christmas means to us. But if you want to find more episodes, if you want to find really old episodes, we definitely won't have put them on the website at beerchristianity.co.uk, but you can still find it at beerchristianity.libsyn.com. Honestly, I don't remember.
Immediately.
Yeah,
We've
that's
got
what it
all
is.
sides. Libsyn's dead to us now.
Screw you,
We don't-
Libsyn.
They're also on Spotify and
Oh yeah, you can
wherever
find us
your-
everywhere. So
Yeah,
so
wherever you find your
honestly, if you're
podcasts.
listening to this, you probably can find all the things really easily. But you should go to the website. You should look at our shirts. We have intentionally made it so that we can't make very much money because we think we just want an army of people wearing our shirts because that'll be cooler, which seems really likely. It's definitely going to happen. Yeah, you can find us everywhere. Please send us an email and tell us your thoughts on whether Christmas is under attack and whether the faith is under attack by secular society, and what you thought about the discussion. You can send it to beerchristianity@yahoo.com. And you can also, find stuff about SpeakPipe and all various things on the website. So interact with us there. Laura, what does Christmas mean to you?
What does Christmas mean to me? I think it's about love, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think that's what Christmas is. It's about love.
Nice.
No further explanation necessary.
Love it. Melks.
Oh man, my explanation is longer than that.
That's fine.
All right, we're at minute 56, Melky. So when you're ready.
Well, right. First of all, just time off, which is good. It's good to, again, in a, very work orientated capitalist culture, to have a proper, schools are off. Me and my wife are lucky enough to be self-employed, and we can take pretty much the 2 weeks that the kids are off. So just that dedicated, everyone, in inverted commas, that I'm aware of, most people, apart from poor people working shifts. I didn't mean poor people.
Fucking hell.
I'm like, oh man, you poor guy, you're having to do a shift over Christmas. You know what I mean? Not like, oh, you're a poor person, and you need to. Yeah, this is taking a turn for the worse.
Oh wow, we're
It's
getting
about time
cancelled.
off, except for those fucking poors. They have
The
to
povers,
work so
yeah.
that I can have a good time.
Nice, Melky. Nice. This is one of the
Apart from
things we
those-
do need to tell him off about.
Unfortunate enough to have a shift that falls over there. Can't it just be a regular pain in the ass?
Yeah.
Rather than being a poop. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
No, friends and family are all off, so you can see people and hang out and have proper off time,
Yeah.
Which is cool. Christmas movies, sitting around with the kids occasionally. I mean, they've been ill so far, which has been a pain in the ass. But the idea's there, hang out and have fun, dedicated non-worky time, which is genuinely, major thing I value. And in terms of spiritually, theologically, personally, I think the incarnation is one of the core things that I think is important about my understanding of God. That he would, humble himself, that he's not distant and holy, that he comes alongside us and meets us where we're at, in the midst of our shit, wherever it is and however messy it is. That's a kind of core message of Christianity is pretty freaking cool, I'd say.
That's awesome.
What about you, Johns?
The monkey did his whole Christmas thing without wearing his Christmas hat.
Yeah, rude. For me, that's the reason for the season, Melky. It's the hats. For me, it is. I don't really have a spiritual thing about Christmas. I wish I did, and I used to pretend that I did. When I was a new Christian, I should be like, yeah, but the reason for the season, and I just, if I'm honest, personally, I never experience it that way. Christmas is great because and again, people talk shit about giving gifts and receiving gifts all the time. I think gift giving is wonderful. I love it. I love an excuse to give people gifts so that you don't feel weird about giving them gifts. And I like giving gifts to people who I love, and I like giving gifts to people who I don't love. I just like giving gifts, and I like receiving. I fucking love receiving a gift. Just love it. Like a surprise present. It's so nice. It's so exciting. And it gives you just a little bit of that. It's like a soupçon of the joy you used to have when you were a child, the excitement you used to have when you were a child. And yes, Christmas Day is wildly depressing because you are disappointed because you don't feel like you did when you were a kid. I find Christmas Day incredibly depressing for that.
We had a lovely Christmas Day together 2 years ago, John T.
We did. We had a lovely day. We had a lovely day. Maybe that was the only Christmas that I have not felt depressed. That
feels like a lie.
No,
it was like you're lying to make me feel.
You know what?
To not have my feelings.
You know what? It's not a lie because I can't remember. So I remember having a lovely time with you, but I do remember a lot of Christmases by the end of the day just feeling really low, and I don't know why that is.
This is
not because
this is why. Not to undermine and cut across you while you're talking about your mental health, but I'm going to make a joke.
That is the correct way to deal with mental health.
This is why you need to have children.
No.
Auntie.
No.
Because
then you're depressed all the time. It's not just depressed on Christmas, it's everyday depression.
Yeah, that's true. But on Christmas.
You live through them, but the rest of the time, you're just in an experience of never having any joy for yourself at all. So it's like that, only they're just in the normal. Is that the...
Or just refuse to grow up.
That's
my mum and dad still give me a stocking. We still leave a little glass of, I think it's now a glass of brandy for Father Christmas, and a carrot.
Nice.
You know, it's tradition.
My wife's mom still gives her a present that comes from the cat.
Nice. See?
It's cute. Yeah, no, that's true. That is good. I like that stuff about Christmas. I like all the I like the excuse to cook a really nice big meal. I like when there are people who don't have anywhere to, have Christmas, don't have friends around, then you can host them and you can make it festive and nice. I think that's really cool. But the incarnation thing is awesome. It's awesome all the time. I think that's really, I just think I'm too Protestant to really care about the season. I never really understood it when I was a kid. And I'm like, and this is the time that Jesus is about to be born. And I'm like, bitch, he was born like thousands of years ago. I even know that, I'm no theologian, but I know. Like, oh, okay. So then.
And it was actually on December the 23rd,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So. Okay, well, that's good. In the website, on the webpage for this, we're going to put our favorite Christmas movies and why. We're not going to tell you now because we don't have time to record it. And also because that will make you then go. My favorite Christmas movie is New and Rogue. And I think you should watch it. But also, I want you not to read the description because I want it to be a surprise. But I also don't want to ruin your Christmas. So... yeah. Anyway, we're each going to put our pick for that on the website, and it is going to be cool.
And our favorite Christmas song, apparently.
Oh, yes. Favorite Christmas song and favorite Christmas movie will all be on the website as well. But yeah, Merry Christmas. We probably won't do a New Year's episode, I suspect. So in case we don't, Happy New Year as well. And thank you very much for listening to Beer Christianity and for sticking with us in our slightly erratic schedule of releasing 3 in 3 weeks and then nothing for 2 months. And then so we're going to be better at that next year. That's our resolution.
That's our New Year's resolution.
Yeah, we're going to be more regular. That's it. We're going to have podcast Bran. It's going to be good. Thanks a lot for listening and goodbye.
Bye. Merry Christmas.